Let's look quickly at Marilyn Monroe's horoscope and go through her horoscope house by house to see what the indications for her life were. This is a very quick look at how astrology can work and how precise it can be. Let's start with her ascendant. The ascendant is the physical body, your path in life, and how you look and your personality, how others see you. So the first house is very important. Any planets there or any sign there will show us what the first impression of this person is, what their path of life is, how they look, how they present themselves. And we see that Leo is in her first house on the ascendant. And the color of Leo is gold, is glorious like the sun. So people who have Leo ascendant, they usually have a stunning appearance as blonde. So they always attract attention. Just like the lion is the king, it stands out from the crowd. People with Leo ascendant always leave a marked impression. They're like a light bulb that others gravitate towards, like moths to a light, like the sun. And Leo ascendants are known for something specific about their hair, about blonde hair or memorable hair in some way. And they look like they're shining always. They look like there's so much glamour and light around them. And that's definitely the case with Marilyn Monroe as well. And the color of Leo again is yellow golden, as we say. And Leo is a fixed sign. Leo is a more massive sign, is not a skinny, slim sign. Leo is has a mass to it, and Leo tends to be of average to tall height, but in her case, because the lord of her ascendant, the sun, also will show appearance, is in Gemini, which makes someone smaller, which makes someone shorter in size. So when both signs are indicated, Leo, which makes someone more rounded, gives more mass to the body, and the lord of the ascendant, the sun, is in Gemini, which is a smaller sign, gives like a shorter height, we give her approximate appearance. And for example, Beyonce also has Leo ascendant, and you see how she's more massive, how she has good shapes on her, not like a waif thin child. And definitely this is what Marilyn Monroe was like. And there is a planet there. This planet will influence her appearance so much and her personality. The planet on her ascendant is Neptune, so she becomes very Neptunian. Neptune is the planet. Neptune, whoever has Neptune on the ascendant, they're like chameleons. They can assume any role they want, because Neptune is this planet that we cyclically penetrate and feel at one with whatever we look at, with whoever we talk with. We immediately, whoever has Neptune on the ascendant, adapts to the other person or adapts to a character or to behavior that the other one expects from them. So there is like this chameleon behavior. That's why Neptune is one of the planets that shows being a good actor and playing well, because you can identify with every role you're playing, because she would fill the role, should become the role, because Neptune is about merging with something. And Neptune is also the planet of being saved, of being a victim. So a lot of her roles had this quality of, oh, look at me, I'm so vulnerable, I'm so sensitive, I'm so feminine. Because Neptune is this very feminine, emotional, sensitive planet. And it definitely makes people more emotional in life as well. But they can also project whatever they want. They can put a super large smile and pretend they're happy and lovely, but at the same time they can be hiding inside a lot. Because Neptune, as we said, is this chameleon. It can project whatever others expect or want. So it's more enjoyable and more pleasurable, the person, how they project themselves. But within, they might be hiding a lot of pain or sadness. And that's definitely the case with her as well. And Neptune is the planet of addictions, because Neptune is the planet with which we want to transcend, and we want to merge with something transcendental, with something beyond the mundane. Usually the best way to do that is through God, through meditation, by prayer, by doing something artistic and creative. And she was doing something artistic and creative. But she was also doing the more negative expression of Neptune, which is escaping reality through pill popping and through alcohol and so life would not feel mundane. So people with Neptune on the ascendant, they should always be careful that they don't become too codependent on any substance. It's better to become codependent on, some kind of a healthy escape from reality, which exists: meditation, traveling, fantasy. And so that's a big characteristic of who she is. And Neptune also rules glamour. Basically, Neptune is the planet that shows you whatever it wants. It makes something look 10 times better than what the reality is. So she always would look so glamorous, so happy, so wonderful. Neptune is the planet of advertising and of glamour models. And of, nowadays the media is very Neptunian because it can present the fact any way it wants, because Neptune is the planet of like a fog. And through a fog, or you can see anything you want. So she would present her image in one way, but what was within her was totally different. And there was this amazingly glamorized image about her. Neptune is also scandal. There would be scandal around her as well. But let's continue. Neptune also, by the way, is co-ruler of the 8th house, which is one of the secret houses of affairs and secret relationships, and also sexual magnetism. So definitely this Neptune made her much more sexually magnetic than other people, because the Lord of the 8th is brought on her life path in the 1st house, which is how others see her, which is her whole aura and her whole path in life. So there was a lot of 8th house activity in her life overall, with this Neptune, the Lord of the 8th, in her 1st house. Basically 8th house is hidden private relationships. 8th house is having very strong magnetic power, sexual power. 8th house is the occult. So I won't be surprised if she was also involved into astrology or occult or any kind of tantric or energy manipulation, or if there was any secret society. She would be definitely someone who's Lord in the 8th. The Lord of the 8th is in the 1st house. They can have affiliation with such secret societies and secret relationships with others as well. And 8th house is also the house of death and self-destruction. Basically destruction. 8th house is the house of destruction. It comes into her 1st house, which is her body, so it becomes self-destruction through Neptunian ways, through escaping reality, through alcohol, through pills, anything which takes you out of a normal state of consciousness. You see how absolutely clear her horoscope is. So she definitely had those inclinations for secret relationships, for secrecy, a lot of secrets in her life, connection with powerful secret people as well, or secret societies, and self-destructive influences as well. Let's skip to the next planet. The next planet is Saturn in her 4th house. 4th house shows emotional well-being, how happy is someone, how stable emotionally someone. And Saturn is one of the most cruel planets, as we know. Saturn is the planet of almost feeling separated, feeling isolated and lonely when it's in the 4th house. A person feels very emotionally isolated and lonely when Saturn is in the 4th house. It's one of the most commonly seen positions, Saturn in the 4th house, for people who have psychological issues, who need counseling, and Marilyn Monroe needed that on a daily basis, as far as I'm introduced. And the problems usually stem from the mother, from the relationships of the mother with the mother, because the 4th house rules also the mother. And Saturn there shows that the mother was cruel in some way, that the mother was unloving or unstable in some way, especially because it's in Scorpio. Saturn in the sign of Scorpio becomes very dark, very unbalanced. Some emotional problems that Marilyn Monroe had was stemming from her early childhood, because the 4th house shows the mother in the early childhood, and the affection and love one receives from the mother. And Saturn is a blocking influence. She was not receiving affection and love from the mother. If actually her first memory of her mother is the mother trying to stifle her, to smother her with a pillow, because the mother was mentally ill, of Marilyn Monroe, and her grandmother as well. And strangulation, basically her mom tried to strangle her. And Scorpio is the sign of strangulation. And in the 4th house of the mother with Saturn, one of the planets of death, And so you can see how it's all working out together. Just throwing out different words of the fourth house, the significations of fourth, of Scorpio, of Saturn. And so she was given to orphanages. So her early childhood, which is also indicated by the fourth house, was she spent it in orphanages where she was sexually molested from the age of 11. And you can see this because Scorpio is also the sign of abuse, the sign of sexual issues or sexual rape, the sign of rape, of taken by force, of predators. And you can see that she had predators first in the face of the mother, the fourth house, which was really, and I'm not saying that everyone who has Scorpio in the fourth house will have this, but it's really made worse by the fact that Saturn, this malefic planet, is there. So whenever Saturn is in the sign, it tends to bring out the most difficult lessons of this sign. So in Scorpio is abuse, is a sexual, having a sexual predator in your life. So that's in the early part of her childhood. So you see those skeletons in the wardrobe of her childhood, and fourth house is the home. Why is it the emotional well-being? Because it shows how stable and comfortable you felt with your mom, with your home, how secure your home environment and early childhood were. If these were not stable, your whole life you're struggling with emotional issues. And these were awful in her horoscope. Look at that with this Saturn. And the Saturn is directly making a difficult aspect to the moon, which is the other planet which signifies the mother. The fourth house and the moon signify the mother. So she was deprived from love. Saturn is blocking. Saturn denies. Saturn brushes you off. Saturn hurts you, So the mother was hurtful, was not giving her love. And actually, when we jump to the moon, which also indicates the mom, look that the moon is with Jupiter. So the mother would be very happy at one moment because Jupiter is this really optimistic planet, the opposite of Saturn. It's like super happy, super optimistic, have faith, all embracing. But Saturn also aspects closely with a difficult aspect, the moon, the square aspect. So the mom would be hyper and happy one moment, sad and depressed another moment. And actually the mom was bipolar, exactly like this, happy, sad, So this immediately reflects in her own emotional states of Marilyn Monroe. So she must have been borderline, like very happy in one moment, because the moon shows first the initial nurturer and parent, like the mother, what your relationship, how she was like with you. And second, it shows what later in life your emotions will be like. So she could be extremely happy and positive and fun, moon with Jupiter, her emotional well-being, expanding, laughing, joyful. And then she could get into really deep emotional states with Saturn squaring the moon there and getting negative. So a bit bipolar quality there as well. And look at this moon is also in opposition, in tight opposition with Neptune, the planet of wanting to escape. So emotionally, her emotions were not stable enough, and she was trying to heal them by basically taking on drugs and by going from one extreme of happiness to one extreme of low. But actually the only planet which is kind of helping her moon with a good aspect is the Sun and Mercury, which is basically Mercury is being an actor, her skills, her trademark, and the Sun is her fame. The Sun shows her career. So the only thing that could kind of balance her out of those moments of emotional disbalance was if she was focusing all her energy on work, on her creativity, on her interaction with, her creative art, Mercury and skills, her creative skills, her artistic skills, and her career. But instead of focusing on this Neptune opposition, which is a difficult aspect, so it will not give good results. So basically the addictions that happen. And her emotional mood's very much dependent. Look at this moon in the 7th house. It shows your emotions, what do you need the most to feel emotionally happy? And in the 7th house is relationships. So she was someone who was instinctively drawn to being in relationship. She needed to be in relationship. She could not be alone. People with moon in the 7th house, they rarely are without a relationship. They have such a strong need. They only feel balanced and happy when they're in a relationship. And if this moon had only good aspects, then perfect, those relationships would be supportive. But this moon has difficult aspects with Saturn, so she was, getting sad and depressed when things were not going well with the relationships. Saturn in the fourth house of emotional well-being. And Neptune, opposition, difficult aspect, going to drinking when things were not going well in relationships, escaping reality. So there is a lot of stress there on her emotional well-being in regards to relationships. And due to relationships, this moon, if you see, rules the 12th house, Cancer. Moon rules Cancer, and it's in the 7th house of relationships and marriage. And 12th house is the other hidden house, the house of secret affairs. So again, her relationships get connected to secrecy, to something behind the scenes. And 12th house is also the house of escaping reality. It has the same quality as Neptune. So she'll try and escape reality through her relationships as well. And and they'll be often very secretive relationships as well. But she also has Jupiter there. And Jupiter expands whatever is there. So in the 7th house, Jupiter gives multiple things. So 7th house is marriages, more than one marriage. She had 3 marriages, and lovers and whatnot. And Jupiter rules the 8th house, co-rules the 8th house, which is again secret house. We said a house that is connected to secrecy, and those partners that she had, they were also secretive as well, They had people a lot of power, because 8th house is the house of power and secret power. It might have been even involved in the occult or secret organizations, and if she was really with the president, that's definitely the case, because they're all part of some secret organizations, and enormous power and enormous wealth, because 8th house also rules the partner's wealth. Jupiter in the 7th house often gives more than one marriage. But there is also something else. When the Lord of the 5th, which is also Jupiter, is in the 7th house, usually people do not have children or get married later and have less children. If happiness comes in their relationship, it comes later in life. Sorry, this is what I meant to say. Because the 5th house rules falling in love, and 7th house is relationships. And when the 5th is in the 7th, one falls in and out of relationship very quickly and changes many partners. This is an indication for change of many partners, but usually difficulty to stay with one for a long time. And that's why this is one of those yogas, as we call, combinations. So she had more than one marriage. Now let's go to her 8th house, where Mars and Uranus is there. And 8th house shows death, first of all. And 2 violent planets are there. So even though she had these addictions, I might think that actually her death has something to do with violence that was predatory influence that was inflicted on her, because Mars is a predatory planet. Uranus is sudden and unexpected planet. So the death comes suddenly, unexpectedly. No one, expects this to happen. And Mars is the violence. So for me, this was a violent death rather than she just tuning out with drugs, So there is some indications, more indications in this direction. And let's see, 8th house rules sexuality as well. And Mars there made her someone who is very sexually strong, sexually magnetic, as we said. Mars in the 8th house creates a lot of sexual magnetism. And Mars shows lovers. Mars is a male planet, so it shows lovers, not people you're married to, but your lovers. The men you're attracted to, the masculine energy. And it's in the secretive, Mars is in the secretive 8th house, so men with power, secretive relationships. Glamorous men in Pisces, men who are involved with a lot of power, with a lot of money. 8th house is the house of huge amounts of money and power and control and secretiveness again. So there's like 3 times or 4 times is this theme of secretiveness in relationship repeated. Okay, let's go further. We get to Venus. And Venus is the planet which is highest in the sky. You see, it's at the highest point to the top of the chart. A planet which is closest to what we call the midheaven, the MC, the highest point in the horoscope. This is a planet that one becomes most remembered by. Usually it's the planet one is connected, that gives a career, that gives what a person is most remembered by, what a person is most recognized by, the legacy basically that you're remembered by. And for her is Venus, the planet of beauty, and she became and still is the sex symbol, the most beautiful woman in the world, still considered the sex symbol. And Venus rules models and beautiful women and the entertainment industry as well. So amusement industry, entertainment, and this is how she was remembered. This is her highest, most, the planet sitting on the top of the horoscope. And then we reach to the 11th house where she has the Sun and Mercury. 11th house is the house of gains. So she was gainful. Someone who has Mercury and the Sun there, Mercury is the planet of business, the Sun is the career. Through their career, first of all, they become gainful, they create, they amass financial wealth. And also she has this combination when Moon and Jupiter, I forgot to tell you, when they're in the same sign, this is a combination for wealth again. And the wealth comes to you through the house that Moon and Jupiter are together. And they're in the 7th house, wealth through marriage or men, or wealth through an abundance through 7th house is the house of audience, other people. So basically her audience, she became wealthy through her followers, through her fans, through her audience, and through men in her life as well. Initially, she was saved from poverty with a marriage. And let's go back to the Sun and Mercury, this is also a very public and popular figure. The 7th and 11th houses, where she has 4 planets altogether, Moon and Jupiter, two benefic planets in the 7th house of audience. She was so popular for that reason. Such people tend to be very popular with those 2 planets in the 7th house. People just embrace them. And the Sun and Mercury is also large groups of people. In the 11th house, where her Sun and Mercury are, also indicate large groups of people. So she was embraced universally. There were no barriers for her fame, in a sense. 11th house rules international stardom, international interconnection. And for her, it was so important to connect to people. She had so much air in the horoscope, Aquarius and Gemini, 4 planets there. She wanted to be around people. She wanted to be in relationships. She wanted to talk to others, to communicate, to laugh, to exchange ideas, and this is what gave her what gave her the wealth in her case. The public loved her, and she was so powerful planets in the 11th house of gains. And she even had political power in a sense, because 11th house rules politicians, 11th house rules the society as a whole. She had extreme power, because the Sun indicates where we're powerful, where we have power, and where we have voice to influence, because the Mercury is our voice, where our voice can be heard. And in the 11th house is by whole of society. She could influence whole masses of society. And she was an amazing actress as well, because Mercury is the planet of artistic skill, someone who can mimic, someone who can, the planet of, comedians and people who can mimic and repeat and learn long speeches, or repeat, basically, I don't know how the actors do it, but when her Mercury is amazing in its own sign, in Gemini, so becomes very strong. So she had great people, all people that I've seen with Gemini Mercury, they're very good at imitating languages, at telling jokes, they're very good at imitating others, and when they're taught what to play a role, they can play it fantastically well. They're really skilled at that, they're very gifted at that, and she definitely had this. And then we go to the 12th house, where we see the North Node and Pluto. The 12th house is hidden enemies. She had some powerful hidden enemies. I mean, and powerful involvement with hidden matters as well. Because wherever Rahu is the North Node, it really blows this house out of proportion. It makes it much bigger. The issues of that house become much more focal. And 12th house, don't forget, is also the house of escaping reality. It has the same influence as Neptune. So it is a house of escaping reality, of running, not being part of the mundane anymore, of being transcending what's ordinary. So she wanted to, and people who have Rahu in the 12th house, they should be careful about addictions. These are addictive personalities. They're here to learn the biggest lessons, how to deal with the desire to escape reality, and they have to find the healthy way to relax and to escape reality. They should not stop doing that, but they should find a very healthy, balanced way to do it, whether through meditation, through walking in nature, through exercise, rather than through drinking, through drugs, through, fantasizing unrealistic things, or secretive relationships, which is again very much 12th house. So she had this repeating a few times in her horoscope, this indication, that we talked about, very powerful Neptune in the first house, aspecting her moon emotional state, and very powerful, 12th house, the North Node, which shows what are your lessons in this life, the biggest lessons you have to learn, and you have to grapple with them. And had she lived a bit longer, usually the North Node lessons start to be learned by the age of 42. And had she lived another 8 years, another 6 years, she was probably going to overcome this addiction problem, and she was going to tame it a bit. But that was not to happen because of this damaged 8th house with malefics there, with 2 malefics, which can bring sudden, unexpected, ending to the life. So this is my quick analysis of Marilyn Monroe. I hope you enjoyed her. I'm not going much more in depth. I can talk for hours about different parts of her life, but then I have to involve much more complicated astrology. But I just gave you a very quick snapshot to see how astrology works. Thank you.